taught to dance, and they're sold to wealthy men who sexually abuse them. And once they get old enough, puberty with, facial hair, taught them out on the street. They have police officers who run programs that are supposed to protect these children. However, they are often found at the parties.
Not surprised.
Along with Western men.
Not yet. Well, there's a whole tourism industry among Western men.
If the kids don't perform sexual acts, they've been known to be killed. All right, so these are some kids who have been child trafficked. In Senegal, an estimated 50,000 kids in the streets are sent to beg for money. They're being exploited by the Quranic schools who are supposed to be teaching them the Quran. Instead, these children aged about 4 to 14, if they don't return with enough money from working in the street, they're beaten. Yes,
that's true with the Romani gypsies as well.
Okay. Now this one, shrine slavery in West Africa. Young female virgins, young female virgins are taken to religious shrines and are sexually abused. They are forced into hard labor. They're not giving them a dime. This is done to correct, unquote, to correct the misdeeds committed by their families. So the families must sacrifice their virginal daughters.
Right.
Priests. And this is a thing called trokasi. Trokasi means slaves of the gods. The girls have sexual relations with the priest, and the priest gets them pregnant.
In Haiti, there's another, they're called Restaveks.
I was getting to Haiti.
Yeah.
But you say what you got to say about that, and then I'll say something else about Haiti.
Well, the sad thing is, and this actually happened in the wake of the earthquake, that a lot of people meaning to do well, meaning to do good there, actually, they helped in adoptions and stuff, but you got to, not all the children being adopted are truly being adopted as children. If not, they're being brought over here also to be sold as slaves, the Restaveks. And I actually know of a family in Long Island, and like you, I'm not going to mention any names either, but they're a very prominent family of doctors, and they have a young Haitian girl that they claim they adopted, but she spends most of her time cooking and cleaning, from what I've seen.
That's child slavery.
Yeah.
Child slavery. I was getting to that, but the thing I wanted to talk about, the Haitian kids, we know the tragedy. Okay, these poor kids, they survived the earthquake. Haiti kids and kids from Somalia have been kidnapped and trafficked so their organs could be harvested.
And something, the word Restavek in French means stay with. And often that's how other family members take these children, because they'll tell like their uncle or whatever, oh, let me take your son. He's gonna rester avec moi. He's gonna stay with me, and I'm gonna take him to work in the city. So the other family member thinks the child's with that relative, not realizing that the relative is the one selling the child.
All right. Do you know how many children are like that? I got the number right here.
Okay.
An estimated 10.5 million children, 71% of whom are girls 5 years and under, being used as domestic slaves, and of course, physical and sexual abuse. Estimated 50,000 of them are in the U.S.
I'm not surprised.
In California, and I remember this news story. When I read it, I was like, I couldn't believe I forgot about a California Egyptian family.
Yes, I heard about that case.
You remember that? It was like 5 years ago. They had in the garage, and she was cooking and cleaning. And to them, it was what we did anything wrong.
And she was one of the, as you mentioned, she was a case where the Egyptian family took her because they claimed her sister did something wrong. Like the sister allegedly stole money. So they told the family, okay, we're taking your daughter like as payment for what the sister did. That kind of a situation. There was one woman in California, and she was caught in New York, Shante Kimes. Remember she killed Mrs. Silverman?
Oh, yeah.
She was the only woman ever prosecuted for slavery in the United States in the last century. And what she was doing, she had a home in Mexico, and she was getting these Mexican girls and actually having another person bring them by water. Can you imagine swimming across Tijuana around that area? And then she would keep them and never paid them. And somebody actually ratted her out, and she was the only case ever tried in the U.S. for slavery in the last century.
Well, look, with 50,000 kids in the U.S., they need to get cracking. There's a lot more kids who are.
And you think of New York City, if you go to Canal Street, and again, this is where I think as a consumer, we need to not only wake up, but also realizing that we're contributing to this. And admittedly, I have a friend, I won't mention her name, but she came to see me in New York to visit, and she brought a friend of hers who had to have a Louis Vuitton bag. And again, if you're getting a Louis Vuitton bag for $100, it's not a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm sorry, and again, it's this obsession. I have to get this. And so they wanted to go to Canal Street, and let me tell you, it was almost like doing some kind of drug deal. Like somebody had to like sneak away and bring it. But you know that there are people downstairs in those, in underneath those buildings making those things.
Yeah. It's all. I tell you, it's all Madison Avenue, man. It's what killed the economy in Greece. When I was there, everybody had to have this. They had to have that.
Right.
$300-400. What are you doing? You don't have the money to eat. You got to get this bag to show off.
Absolutely. I've met people like that where they won't have money for food in their fridge, but gosh darn it, I got to get this knockoff pair of Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses. Really?
Then they find out why the car's being towed the next morning,
Exactly. And just little, things like some of the most, and I did mention the garment industry, which is horrific, and I've actually been trying to push for slow fashion, the idea of paying more for a garment that's well made, hopefully made here, or, so you can trace the accountability. But two other industries that are just rampant with slavery are unfortunately two of my favorite things: coffee and chocolate. Tea is another one.
That's the number one. This was number one on the list. Chocolate slavery in the Ivory Coast.
Right.
Kids, 60% of the world's cocoa comes from the Ivory Coast, and about 500,000 of the cocoa bean pickers there are children.
Right.
That's the number one. Number two was child soldiers. They used as soldiers. Sierra Leone, Civil War, they used kids as soldiers. Burma, if they're not being used as soldiers and shields, they're being used as slave labor.
Well, Charles Taylor had a whole, from Liberia, he had a whole army of child soldiers.
And I hate to say it, but the militant Muslims, they're strapping bombs on kids and blowing them up. Remember that kid a few years ago, was it 2004, who was strapped with the bomb, and he didn't want to do it, and the SWAT team, the bomb squad came over, they took the vest off the kid. Dangerous things. Number three was forced laborers in the mines. They're still using
diamonds kids. Again. That's our demand for diamonds and jewelry and bling bling.
But again, it's what we want, right? They want diamonds, so they send the kids in there. And
an interesting thing there, you have an eco alternative there, because there are actually synthetic diamonds. Like Brilliant Earth makes synthetic diamonds. So maybe one possible option there is to tell people you don't need the blood diamond that that they got from Sierra Leone that some little kid lost a hand for. But it's again about changing people's perception.
Right. And the last two. Cannabis farms in Scotland. Insane.
Sorry, what was that?
Cannabis farms, marijuana farms in Scotland.
Really?
Yeah.
That I would not have guessed.
They're in gutted buildings. That's why I was like, this was like out of Daredevil. I'm like, organized gangs are using Chinese and Vietnamese kids.
Okay.
As young as 13. They're smuggling them about 300 a year through the UK into Scotland.
Wow.
And they're being told they'll be released when they pay off their family debt, of course.
Which never happens. Exactly.
And the last one, this one really killed me. You know what they're doing in Pakistan with children? They're taking kids, boys, as young as 2. They're abducting them, and they're deliberately stunting their growth to raise them to be camel jockeys.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Camel jockey.
Right. And again, that's what, for the entertainment of the wealthy, right? So which rich people can, yeah. And, you know, and
UNICEF is aware of that one. And
yes.
they're trying to convince Pakistan to use robot jockeys.
Right.
What the hell is this in the U.S. media?
The U.S. media doesn't cover stuff like this, which is why we're needed. And, you know, I just want to mention, like in New York, and this often bothers me because I've been seeing more and more of this in New York, the kids begging in the subway. And people always give them money. And I really always tell people, please don't give them money. Because many times it's deliberate exploitation. And I know this model is used by the Roma, and I'm not implicating all the Roma, but it's used a lot by gypsies in Italy and I'm sure in Greece as well. But I actually saw this on a New York City subway. A couple of kids came on and they were like 7, 8 years old, and they're doing their little song and dance routine. And when the train stopped, an older man who probably isn't a relative, he's probably just somebody who, you know, said, "Oh yeah, I'll watch the kids for the day," or whatever. He came in and screamed at the kids, and he said, "I told you to go to the next car. I told you to go to the next car." And I even saw a mother doing this with her own child. The little boy had his little candy, you know, and the mother was trying to get him to do the spiel about, "I'm not selling money for no basketball team, blah, blah, blah." You know, that was, and the mothers and people started looking at her because the child was very uncomfortable, almost to the point that he was crying. And the mother said, come on, people are looking at us." So, you know, I know people give money because maybe they want to assuage their own conscience or whatever, but the children that are begging on the subway, somebody's putting them up to it. And I guarantee you the kids are not the ones keeping that money. It's going to feed somebody's habit or whatever, and you're not helping at all.
I remember the last time I was on the subway, and I saw that sign where the MTA tells people, please don't